What we're doing at DHIC is really providing an opportunity. And the really cornerstone for many people pulling their lives together and building a strong family is having that stable housing and home environment. And I really think that home matters.
It's very important to be able to have affordable housing, because that can make a great difference in your life and that of your children.
In 2008, I lost my job. So me as a single parent, I had 2 kids. I said, well, I'll never be in this situation. What should I do now?
With the job I currently work at, I also pay child support. And it's very hard paying child support and find a place that I also can afford to live on my own.
A lot of seniors just do have limited income, and they just can't afford to go to a lot of places.
Prior to moving into Water Garden Village, I also had this myth that affordable housing had a certain look, had a certain type of people in it, and until it happened to me. So when I found Water Garden Village Apartments, I found DHIC, and DHIC has changed and saved my life.
In the late 60s, early 70s, Raleigh had an extraordinary period during which it created the DHIC, it passed a fair housing ordinance, it defeated highways, it rethought its whole approach to urban development.
DHIC was established by area business leaders in the city of Raleigh, and we've maintained that partnership with the city of Raleigh since our inception back in 1974.
I remember the times very well when DHIC was formed. Southeast Raleigh, which is an area where I continue to live, and I lived then, had become stagnant. A lot of the housing, particularly in our traditional communities, was old, it was neglected, so there was an effort led by Mayor Leitner and others to kickstart the development of housing in that area.
So our job was actually to make sure that we could build affordable housing, keep neighborhoods stable, and explain what we were doing and listen to the neighborhood citizens tell us what they would like to see.
The foundations that were laid in the early 70s have been the catalyst for community improvement and to give people the understanding that low-cost housing can be quality housing. I think that's a thing that DHIC has led the way in.
When I arrived at DHIC in the mid-'80s, I saw an organization that had an incredibly good reputation, but was trying to find its way a bit. We knew that we had to scale up some, and one of our major emphases at that point in time was getting involved more in rental housing, which gave us the scale to really make an impact.
A classic DHIC capital program would have city, county, tax credits, bank. There may be 6 or 7 different components, so it's very complicated. And credits of low-income housing tax credits are really what make these projects work.
This was affordable housing, attractive housing that was being done in a very economical way. And that's where DHIC could change as the need changed. And that's been one of the hallmarks of its success over the last 35, 40 years.
One project that was particularly interesting was the Murphy School. It was the first school integrated in the city of Raleigh. Greg came, and I remember the day he called me up and said, "Peter, I want to get the Murphy School." And he then proceeded, and we proceeded, to build a coalition that allowed the Murphy School to become the elderly housing, saving the school that the state would have otherwise torn down.
Without Murphy School apartments, I don't know where I would be. I can only imagine I would probably be homeless. You know, I would probably be struggling worse than I am now. And to have a place like this to live, such good living quarters and people to look after you and concerned about you, is truly another blessing.
One of our challenges when we moved into new neighborhoods that had not yet seen affordable housing was that oftentimes we encountered questions from neighbors, as you might imagine.
When this project was first proposed by DHIC, I know there was strong resistance or suspicion, let's just say suspicion, by the surrounding neighborhood a quick ride around here and you can't tell the difference between DHIC's project and the neighbors. And as a partial observer, I would say in many ways DHIC's property is maybe even a little finer than that nearby.
You know, living at Water Garden Village Apartments is, I would say, is a highlight of my life, because I drive into the community and I sometimes say, this gave me another chance. And it's a wonderful feeling to live in an apartment community that people wave and smile and they talk to you and they look after each other.
I think the main ethic of DHIC and what it represents in my mind is dignity for anyone who is seeking home and shelter and an opportunity to improve their housing.
I was looking for an affordable apartment. So when I decided to walk into Carlton Place and I found out that I really can't get an apartment in there, when I told my kids, they couldn't believe. So when I came in to see the apartment, we were so happy, and my kids, they was jumping around. It was like, oh wow, Mom, this is great.
I think everyone should have the opportunity to have a home, purchase a home. It is good for the community, it's good for the economy, and especially for children. They will able to have roots, memories, traditions are built.
Another important part of DHIC's work has always been encouraging homeownership and expanding homeownership opportunities.
I rented for a number of years and never thought that I would be able to have a house. I'm single, I work for a church, and DHIC walked me through very systematically through the whole process. They were cheerleaders for me that really became some very dear friends.
Our work at DHIC is not driven by any single person. We have a tremendous staff, a solid group that is really committed to our work. And we provide coaching and long-term assistance to make sure that families are ready for homeownership.
We'd had several people tell us that there was a program in Raleigh for low-income first-time home buyers, like ourselves, with him being a teacher, that could help us purchase a home possibly. But no, we'd never had anyone talk to us about our credit. We had no idea about any of it at all.
And so we met with Sandra, and we were pretty surprised that there were things that were available for us here in Raleigh.
And she immediately told us about all these programs that we were qualified for, programs that would help us to make a down payment on a house, and gave us our budget on the first day and introduced us to this incredible realtor. And she just said, all right, you're on your way. Get ready, you can buy a house. It was incredible.
Yeah.
It was not what we were expecting at all.
I went from a place of not thinking something was possible to now living in a house for 12.5 years that was made possible through the efforts and the work and the help and the instruction of DHIC.
Actually being able to own a home makes you feel grounded, and it makes you feel like you have something to contribute to everyone around you. Being in the same place for more than 1 year has been quite a blessing.
As we look forward at DHIC, I'm really excited about what we're going to be doing at Washington Terrace, transforming that community. It takes us back to our roots 40 years ago when we were working in College Park, building a house and helping first-time home buyers in that neighborhood.
And I believe Washington Terrace will be a long-running project that will be of great benefit to not only DHIC, but the community of St. Augustine's College and the surrounding neighborhood that it's a part of.
We rely on many different supporters to undertake our work. Not only the City of Raleigh, but Wake County and many different financial institutions and banks. We thank all of them for their support of DHIC over the last 40 years.
Whether it's apartments or whether it's senior residences or whether it's single-family homes, it doesn't matter. DHIC has, in my mind, moved to try to fit a gap that existed within the community and provide housing for everybody.
DHIC is, in my opinion, the best nonprofit housing in the state, and you can go around and look at the work that others have done. DHIC stands out.
Consistently through those 40 years, what I know has been a very strong, very slow building of value, of assets, and experience. And I think it's reflected in the fact that DHIC enjoys a great reputation from institutional investors.
And I think that our relationships throughout the business community, throughout our partners in the lending community, demonstrate that we have the capabilities of a full-fledged real estate development firm that just happens to be nonprofit, that just happens to focus on serving the most needy families in Raleigh and Wake County.
And I think that's really the most rewarding part, just to see real people having real experiences that have changed their lives for the better.
I am the face of affordable housing, and I'm okay with that.